we look at what has to happen there in terms of investment to deal with the risks here and ask ourselves, well, how will we mobilize investment in order to create retention ponds, to capture stormwaters, to improve egress from buildings in storm situations, to create surfacing on roadways that allows stormwater to percolate into the groundwater. All of these things are investments that on the surface seem to be investments that would have no clear return to a private sector investor. Animate to the next step, please. At the same time, you see in the blue boxes the types of things that private sector investors will surely continue to invest in this area in spite of the risk profile of the area. So they will need to invest in, new residential towers and new commercial buildings in the area. They will invest in improving their roofs. They will invest in upgrading or replacing their old HVAC systems. So on the one hand, we see demands that will attract private investment, and the other areas in the red and the orange boxes, we see things that typically would be left to the public sector to look after. But the public sector, in of its own right to taxing, does not have the mechanisms to keep pace with the risks as they grow. So if we move to the next slide, I'll propose the way that we might handle this. In the first instance, what we need to do is think about how we can bundle these measures together. So I've just notionally outlined 3 potential resilience upgrade districts within this area. One that bundles together investments in private assets in that area at the top, the blue zone, with resilience upgrading measures, the red boxes in that area. Another one that looks at how we bundle together private investments in infrastructure along a transportation corridor with non-revenue generating investments along that corridor. So the key principle is to think about how we create special planning districts in which we can bundle together the private investments that we want to attract into that area with the adaptation measures that we need to see secure financing for. Next slide. It might look like this. So in the first instance, once we've designated these districts, we have to establish special mitigation plans and building codes for them that reflect the very specific risk profiles that they confront. Next. And in order to have an institution that has a particular interest in the overall performance of the district, not just the investment in a single building, but how that building and the other buildings around it will perform together across a long period of time that confronts a variety of risks along the way, we need to establish some kind of redevelopment corporation or special purpose vehicle that will manage the process of recruiting investment in bundling investments together so that we simultaneously attract and deploy private investment in the growth of this area, in its development, alongside the mitigation measures that will be necessary for it to perform from a resilience point of view. Next slide. We recognize that some of the risks that confront this area won't be able to be mitigated on a cost-effective basis or even on a public finance basis. So there will be need for some kind of instrument to transfer extreme risks. So we've seen, for instance, the development of national and sub-national catastrophe bonds, and Lindeen and others have referred to other innovations in terms of risk transfer that we need to continue to proceed with. But the key point is that if we can approach attracting investment into this area, private sector investment, through a typical redevelopment project that we're quite familiar with at the municipal level, insure against extreme risks, we can begin to use a combination of conventional instruments for redevelopment, development